I'm gonna admit it, I've been a little tough on BlackBerry the past few years, but I think they came back really strong with this device. I've been really excited to try it. There's a lot of innovative features here, a lot of things that work really well, some that don't. Let me give you my general first impressions. Let's start with the size and the shape of it. It's weird. It's weird to have a phone that's this wide and this squat. It's just something you're unused to. Because you're unused to it doesn't mean that it's bad. So first, reading text is great. You can get a huge line of text because the screen is markedly wider than anything else out there, but it also gets a little bit squashed because it's not as tall as anything else out there. It also means because it's a square, you don't really need to worry about rotating it because it's the same both ways. You're either going to love it or you're going to not love it. I really liked it, and I got used to it very, very quickly. And I found myself just adapting everything I did to the square screen, so I think that BlackBerry might actually be onto something. In fact, I'm surprised nobody else has tried this design before. They did a few things interesting here. So you've got a keyboard. BlackBerry's been known for a keyboard. I think they've done an incredible job with this device. So the keys are wider because the device is actually wider. But if you notice, there's no fourth row here, which I found to be kind of interesting. The fourth row is actually dynamic and shows up on top. And if it'll sort of adjust depending on what you need. If you're typing an email, it's going to show you your period and the comma and semicolons. If you're putting in your email address, it'll show the @ and the .com. It's dynamic and learns what you're doing, which I found to be surprisingly helpful. In fact, maybe surprised that no one else had done that before either. Keyboard also has a few new tricks in it. You can use it almost as a trackpad. If you're scrolling through email or a website, you can scroll up and down on the keyboard, and it'll scroll up and down, and it works incredibly well and is really responsive. The spacebar key is kind of nestled in between the V and the B, which took longer to get used to than anything else out there. It's a small spacebar key, and having it inside of the actual keyboard was a little bit strange, a little bit weird. And as I found with most physical keyboards, it took me about 3.5 to 4 days to actually get used to it before I really didn't notice it. I will say though, while I enjoy typing on a physical keyboard more than a soft keyboard, I wasn't any faster with a physical keyboard, but I was a bit more accurate. But of course, there's always spell correct and autocorrect and all those kind of things that usually make typing a much more accurate proposal. So when the Z10 first launched with BlackBerry 10, I used it for quite a bit, and I really liked it. But since then, I haven't tried BlackBerry 10, and they are back with 10.3, which I think really should be 11 because there are just crazy new features in here. The best one for me is the Amazon App Store. Any app you can download on your Kindle Fire device, you can get right here, and it works just like any other Android app. You sign in with your Amazon ID, and you are good to go. You also get BlackBerry's own App Store, and of course, you can sideload Android apps on here. So really, you get almost every app from 3 relatively strong ecosystems. So the app thing that's saying BlackBerry doesn't have apps anymore is a totally moot point. The other non-com BlackBerries didn't have sort of a virtual assistant. They didn't have a Siri, they didn't have a Google Now or a Cortana. They do have an assistant here, and this is something I came a little disappointed with. It worked. I like that you could type what you wanted to say instead of speaking to it. But when I spoke to it for something like, what's the weather? It took a really long time before it would actually tell me what the weather was. It's quicker just to type in weather and go ahead and do my search. They also added a bunch of new features on the home screen as well. I like that you can sort of tap the icon to see what you've got inside of those notifications. So if you have email, Facebook, or LinkedIn, you could tap that icon and it'll sort of open up on the side to show you notifications you have. It's a really elegant home screen. And sort of better looking than what we've seen on active notifications on Motorola's Moto X. So if you like that, you're really going to enjoy this here. BlackBerry also spec'd this thing up to the nines. It's got 3 gigs of RAM, quad-core processor, hot-swappable micro SD, a pretty baller 13-megapixel camera. I mean, this thing is spec'd up with anything else out there. I never noticed a single lag. Things were buttery smooth. Apps opened quickly. Everything just worked really well and as advertised. I haven't had a chance to test out the camera as well as I'd like. We'll test that in the full review. Battery life has been awesome. By the time I plug it at the end of the day, I've usually got it at 50%. We're going to run more battery tests before we do the full review as well. That's something to sort of look to improve upon. I really like the sort of metal design around here. I didn't like the placement of the lock and home button though in the upper right-hand corner. It's really hard to reach with a square design like this. There's a mute button in between the volume up and down, which I just would have wished would have been just the power and lock button. Cell reception was great. We tested it with AT&T in Southern California. It charged pretty fast. I wish there was a removable battery, but there's not. All you have is a top part pops off to get your SIM card and your micro SD. But overall, I think BlackBerry's done an incredible job. I think the Passport's going to be the device that gets them not only back at the corporate, but also top of mind with consumers. You get those Google apps that you love that you can access on the Amazon App Store. You get the Android apps you can sideload on here. You get BlackBerry's own. But again, anything you guys want to see in the full review, let us know. We'll be sure to cover it. Just sort of a general thoughts and first impressions after using the device for a few days. Anyway, guys, until next time, I'm John Ranger from Techno Buffalo. See you guys next video. Bye-bye. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. We love technology here. If you do too and you want to see what's next, of course, hit the big subscribe button down below to get the latest videos from Techno Buffalo. And we just launched our new Twitch channel, so if you want to see us game, albeit sometimes a little bit horribly, check us out at twitch.tv/TechnoBuffalo.